So if you get an old style metal coat. Okay. So we're back. We went ahead and we have the gauge sensor threaded in. We have the electronic fan controller sensor threaded in. And we're now at the point where we can install it on the boss, but we want to mention two things. One is that this inner register, where the old thermostat used to sit inside there, is now having its place taken by this aluminum register with the outer O-ring. So this will make sure that the thermostat is centered perfectly in that housing right there. But as you notice right now, I'm trying to put this on, and there's a slight clearance issue on the trucks. There's a bolt right here that secures the timing cover to the cylinder head. It just adds a little bit of structural integrity. It's not anything that you need to be concerned about as far as coolant leaking out of or oil, anything like that. So some people, when they install this spacer, they opt to remove this bolt and just leave it out. It really doesn't have that great of an impact. But what we do is, if you do order from us in our kit, it comes with 2 bolts to actually hold the thermostat down, and then it comes with a low profile radius head bolt to replace this one here that sticks out too much and actually hits the side of it. So all you have to do is, when you order, let us know it's for a truck. We'll include the extra bolt for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and take that bolt out and replace it. So it really goes into that cylinder head pretty far. We took measurements, and really this is the only length that's needed. This has a lot more thread engagement, but it's well beyond the typical 1.5 times diameter thread engagement. So this will support more than enough that's needed. The rest of that's just a little bit extra. So if you can look at this, look at the difference in the depth of the head. It's actually a good bit different. That's going to give us the clearance we need. Sometimes you might need to kind of protect this and sand that little metal boss. We're going to show you, we have a timing cover here on the side that we're going to show you what this actually is and how easy it is to modify. So that's there. Use our 5mm Allen key. Tighten it down. There it is. So Mike, let's switch on over to our example timing cover over here so you can really get a closer look of what's going on. This is the area we're dealing with right there inside the engine compartment. Yep. And this is the bolt hole that we're really working with when we put the adapted low profile bolt head in. It's nothing more than a stamped steel roll pin. You can see it just really adds a little bit of strength to here by bolting it to the cylinder head. Kind of helps dampen vibrations. You're really not going to destroy the engine if you don't put this bolt in, but the fact that the factory felt it was necessary to put it there for vibration and support issues, we try to run it if possible. You won't hurt anything if you take a grinder and just slightly trim some of this end off of this roll pin. As long as you don't touch the back side, it has the proper measurement or separation between the cylinder head and this timing cover, you're fine. So if you need to trim this off a little bit, get yourself some extra room, that's perfectly fine. Just try to run that bolt if possible. It's good practice. Okay. Now we are to the point that it all comes to. I'm going to go ahead. Everything looks good. Make sure there's no trash on the O-ring. This will snap right in the register. Alright, so we have our spacer in, low profile bolt supporting it, everything's in place. What we're going to do now is insert the thermostat back in. Make sure the standoffs are perpendicular to the sensors so they don't make contact. Just like that. Now we'll take the original water neck off of the engine. Slide that first bolt in. We're going to do the lower bolt first. Just it's going to help us get it started to get that one in there first. And it may take a while just to kind of feel it and get it started in there, but once it's started you should be good.
Blake's got the magic fingers. That's what his wife says anyway.
Oh gosh. You'll get me in trouble, Mike. Always got jokes.
Giving you a compliment. Come on, man.
Yeah, feel it?
It's there somewhere.
Yeah. Now we'll put the top one in, and I'll tighten her up. There we go. This will be a 6mm. Make sure you go side to side, tightening the lowers and the uppers. You want to really get one side down a lot tighter than the other one first. You want to make sure you load that O-ring pretty evenly. What you can see is pretty cool right here. The sensor wires are tucked down below, run behind the power steering pump reservoir. So you're now getting it up and back here away from the accessory drive and hanging over up top right here. It just looks a lot neater. It's a much better place to have it.
That's awesome. So you got one more wire to put on there, I guess?
Yep. So that's going to be the gauge sensor wire. I'm going to attach it. This car had an aftermarket gauge just because it was easier to run at the time. We're going to now run this wire back to the factory gauge. That's why I don't have it connected right now.
Nice.
Alright. So I won't bore you guys to death with tightening 2 bolts. Instead, what I think we should focus on is an old mechanics trick that I learned. So at this point, we no longer need kind of this stuff here. What we're going to do is we're going to take a coat hanger. So if you get an old style metal coat hanger, you can actually place it from the discharge of the water pump, the water neck here, over to the inlet and the radiator. Bend it in a way that makes sense for you, and what we're going to do is go to the local auto parts store and find a hose to match. So most local auto parts stores are very cool. They'll let you go walk the back racks, and you'll just hold that metal coat hanger, that rod, up to one that makes the most sense, and just buy it, and it should work for you. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go hop on over to our auto parts store and see what we can find.
Nice. You must have learned that from some old school mechanic guy, huh?
Yeah, his name was Scooter. Yeah. But he was a nice guy.
Yeah, smart.
He was old. Hey, smart works,
That's
right?
a good idea. Alright, till next time, we'll find that coat hanger and show you how to do it.
Alright, we are back from our local O'Reilly's where they helped us out so graciously, as you've seen. We were able to go ahead, strap down the hose into its location with its hose clamps, and everything fits. It fits great. I mean, I have no complaints. I'll go ahead and kind of give you a recap. Here's the wire that we had pre-bent to go walk the aisles with, looking for a proper radiator hose that would fit. And, you know, obviously it was more like this when you place it down in there. but the fit is just great. You have no major kinks. The curvature fits just right. You have our thermostat spacer bolted in. You can see the sensor ports pointing down. We have not connected the gauge wire yet. That's going to be the last thing we do. We're going to run over and run this wire directly to the bulkhead connector on the back that Mr. Pete has there, so that his gauges function properly. But we do have the fan switch installed, so you can see that wire hidden back below. There's no more wires draped all over the place right here, so it just really cleans it up and provides a good solution and works really well. So we have done testing already right before we started to shoot this video to make sure there were no leaks. That's something you want to do, is, you know, let it run, let it get up to operating temp. Make sure that you don't have any drips or leaks. If so, you may need to torque down the spacer bolts just a little bit more, just to ensure a good proper fit. You want it to get up to operating temp and pressure, just to, you know, make sure you take off down the road. You don't want to have a leak that'll leave you stranded on the side of the road. So everything works really well. I'm going to go ahead and fire this guy up if I can find the keys. Alright, you guys ready?
Ready.
As you can see, we don't have any drips below, nothing coming out from the upper radiator hose. For this particular setup, which is pretty neat, is he had this radiator retrofitted. So originally it had the upper radiator neck on this side, and he loved his aluminum radiator. He didn't want to get rid of it, so he had a local radiator shop actually weld in the hole here and relocate the neck to this side. So this upper radiator hose had to be custom. This is not an off-the-shelf radiator. But I will say that we were able to find this one, and luck have it, it actually came out of a Hemi Durango. So this upper radiator hose came out of a Hemi Durango. That makes things a little bit easier when it comes to road trips. So we'll step away a little bit, maybe you can hear me better. One thing we always try to do is we try to use off-the-shelf components. The reason being is we drive these cars. That's what they're made for. That's why we Hemi swap them. So if you're out in town, maybe you're out on cruising the coast, hot rod power tour, something like that, and you have a radiator hose blow out. Well, knowing what factory vehicle that radiator hose came from, you can go to your local O'Reilly's, your local auto parts store, find that radiator hose, repair it, and be on your way without having to wait for some custom hose to come in. You know, you're not stranded where you are. So we're all about reusing factory components where possible, because it will help you out if you ever get into a bind. You know, it's really about that reliability and dependability that you expect with a Hemi as well.
Yep. And the nice thing is it came from another Mopar.
It came from another Mopar. It's like a win-win. You know. So we are all Mopar on this baby still. And that's a great thing.
And we'll get you guys that part number, right, Blake?
Yeah,
and
we have that part number. We'll get it to you.
Awesome. Beautiful. So this is a 03 truck engine.
It's an 03. You come on this side. It's an 03 truck engine. And let me kill it so perhaps they can hear that.
Yeah. So just to recap, it is an 03 truck engine, and we upgraded the harness on this one.
We did. So 2003 truck engine, as you remember, had the big bulky transmission control module. I have one actually sitting on the bench over there. It saved us like 10 pounds of weight at least, somewhere between 6 to 10 pounds of weight. And it just relieved a whole bunch of mess on here. The 03, 04, again, you can't really tune well. So it's just not good setup. It also has one forward oxygen sensor instead of two, so getting good feedback bank to bank or side to side on the engine is not good on an 03, 04. So by upgrading to the 05, we now have two forward oxygen sensors for better tunability, an ECM that's actually tunable now, and we also have much better drivability. It's a lot neater wiring up here. Another thing we did was we upgraded to the 2006 valve covers and injector coil, ignition coil. Sorry, So if you come over here, Mike, you'll see what we actually did is we got rid of the cast aluminum valve covers with the coils that had the crossover. Here it is. This is what we had before. So we had the old style with the single coil that also crossed over.
Yep.
This had the Taylor conversion spark plug wires that just looped it back to the same cylinder, making it behave more like the newer coil style, where one coil operated on one cylinder. But still, these new coils down here are much neater and much more powerful. So that's a really good upgrade. Now, in order to do this upgrade to 06 coils, we actually had to change the coil connectors right here. So it was a simple D-pin. You would unpin the old style connector and then crimp on the new terminals and snap it into the new style pin. So you could get just these connectors individually with the pins and do the conversion without having to swap everything. But some people, we know that may be a bit much, so we're actually working on some adapters so that way it's plug and play. You can just plug it into the adapter and be able to run this new setup with much better results, much cleaner results.
Yeah, it looks nice, a lot nicer.
Yeah, it really helps. Better performance, better aesthetics. It's just all around, it's a win-win.
Awesome.